Hey y'all, hi. So today I am going to share with you some hero makeup products. So I thought of this in the shower, as I often do with my videos. I feel like I have these products that I turn to when I'm in some sort of disaster situation, either when I'm partway through doing my makeup and a disaster has arisen, or when I'm starting with a disaster, like really dry skin, a face that isn't going to take makeup well. And I feel like I have extra information about this because part of what I do for work is I test makeup. So I often end up putting makeup onto my face that isn't ideal in one way or another because I'm just testing it. So it's like not the right shade, not the right texture, finding that out as I go, and then needing to somehow handle that situation. And I find myself having to apply makeup to appear on camera or in pictures or something when my skin isn't cooperating, when my eyes are watering, when I otherwise maybe wouldn't. So that's why I'm armed with so much knowledge about hero products. However, I don't want this to be a video where I'm like trying to convince you to buy the products, the exact products that are my hero products. I'm going to try to dismantle what it is about my hero products, what it is about them that makes them heroes to me, and talk about that more broadly so that you can identify the hero makeup products in your own collection. Or if you feel like you need to acquire one, you don't need to just buy exactly what I have, but you can be discerning in finding the product that's going to work the best for you that does what my product, my hero product, does for me. If this is your first time to my channel, then welcome. I'm so glad you're watching this one. And what I just said is kind of emblematic of what I do here. I love makeup. I love reviewing makeup. I love that this is part of my job, but I don't want to promote overspending. So I try to stay grounded in reality. And if that sounds good, I hope that you'll subscribe. Now, let's go ahead and get into the meat of the video. I forgot to conceal my chest blemishes before I filmed the intro. Whoops. Hopefully no one will click on the video and be like, ugh, look at her blemished chest, and then click away. If they do, more the fool's them, because look at me now. Okay, hero product number one. Well, I guess we're gonna start with like the emergency, right? So emergency number one, incredibly dry skin. So this is coming from the fact that I'm currently dealing with, I would say, combination skin. My skin has always tended to dry, but now I get these like oils popping through, especially sort of midday. But the surface of my skin is still very prone to getting that really dry, cracked, a little bit peely, sometimes scaly surface, especially when I try new skincare products or when I up the retinol a little bit. Sometimes I can get this like mildly scaly face that I just have to kind of wait for it to soften so I can exfoliate it away. But I usually have to keep testing complexion products, putting on makeup to show up on camera to film through those phases. And when I'm dealing with that, when I'm needing to put makeup on to color correct, conceal, cover redness on top of really flaky skin, lately for me, the hero product has been Danessa Myricks Yummy Skin. This came out of a group of high-end skincare primers that I reviewed a couple of months ago. I'll link the relevant videos so you can see me apply this to my face, talk about the texture, the smell, everything. And if you've seen those videos, then you know that this wasn't actually my favorite of the four, and it's not the one that I use the most. However, it is the one that I use when my skin is so dry that I wake up in the morning, I put on my skincare, and I look at my skin and I'm like, no makeup is gonna look good on me. Like, makeup cannot possibly look good on this skin. A thick layer of this makes it okay. And the thing about it that makes it work so well for that situation is that it's quite viscous. It's really got body. It's thick. It's very clear and very wet look. Again, I have other videos where I demonstrate the use of this more thoroughly, but you can see how you see it dripping down. It just has much more of a syrupy quality than it does a watery quality, but it looks like water. So that syrupy quality, that beefiness of it, I feel like it drenches the scaly layer of my skin. But rather than soaking in completely, it sits on there, continuing to drench the scaly layer of my skin, and it makes makeup apply much more elegantly on top of it. When I'm dealing with a situation, what I usually do is I apply a lot of this. So kind of what happens is the makeup that I put on mixes with it. So I end up applying this like really thick serumy makeup that's unlikely to gather in the ridges and flakes of my dry skin. And that's the ticket if you're looking for, if you don't have this and you don't want to buy this, but you're looking to solve this problem. So I would say go to your thickest skincare serum or your most serum-y lotion, or really you can use like a gel cream, a thick, beefy gel skincare product of some kind. It could even be like a night cream. And just apply a lot of it and have that be your primer. And don't worry too much about makeup slip sliding around. It's like you can have it one way or another, right? You can either have like really set full coverage makeup, or you can use this technique where you're using a lot of something really jelly and slidey and wet to keep makeup from grabbing and setting on your flaky skin. The benefit of it is that when I do this, I can get a color-corrected face, obliterate my redness, conceal, get skin that is the right tone so I don't look like I have that sort of rubbed raw skin that I usually have when I wake up, without it being like cracky alligator skin, flaky, patchy up close. The other product that gets an honorable mention in this category, and I think also has a quality that can be applied broadly, is this new product from Merit, the Great Skin Instant Glow Serum. So this is, again, kind of like a primer skincare hybrid, a little bit more of a skincare product, I think, but Merit as a makeup company, they're not saying this is a primer, but the idea is that it primes your skin or prepares your skin well for makeup. It's very watery. It's like water, so it doesn't have the viscosity of Yummy Skin and things like it, but it has another quality that makes it work really well as a hero product in the dry, flaky skin situation, and that is that it is a bi-phase serum. So it has oil and water mixed together. That's what bi-phase means. It's not the only bi-phase serum on the market. There are a bunch of others. I've tried some others. I'll actually try to link ones that I've tried that I've liked down below. There's some good ones in the K-beauty realm, and I always get along with them really well because the watery quality is, again, that skin drenching, skin dampening thing, and it also allows it to kind of become one with the skincare that's already there. But the oil that's mixed with the water means that it stays on the surface of the skin a little bit instead of soaking in completely, and instead of having your skin, your dry skin, like suck it up completely and then break out in desert dryness again on the surface. The oil quality like keeps it as a protective layer. And that's what I really need as the last step of my skincare routine when I'm dealing with super dry skin and I'm going with makeup on top. So Yummy Skin gets the prize because I've had it for longer and it's truly extraordinary, thick and beefy and gooey. But Merit, I've just started testing it within the past couple weeks, and there are a couple of times that I've had really dry skin and I've used this and I've been pleasantly surprised at how well it works dealing with this same situation. So I just had to mention it because I know it's new and a lot of people are curious about it. However, the introduction of this as an honorable mention also introduces another concept, another way that you can solve this problem potentially without buying anything. One is if you already have a bi-phase serum or a skincare product of some kind, consider using it, maybe the 7 skin method, meaning like you put a thin layer, pack it into your skin with your hands by tapping, then another thin layer, pack it in by tapping 7 times in a row. If you have a bi-phase serum and you do that, the 7 skin method, on a day when you have really dry skin, your makeup is going to look literally as good as it could possibly look on that day. Like that's the best way you could prep your skin if it's really dry. But you can also just use a little bit of oil mixed with some sort of watery serum, you know, a drop of oil in the palm. If you have, I don't know, an essence, a milky essence or something, a drop of that in your other palm, rub them together and press that into your skin. Maybe twice, maybe 3 times, maybe 7 times. It's like make your own bi-phase serum. It's that mixture of oil and something watery, really drenching and then holding on to the dryness on the surface of your skin. That's going to get you there, and you don't need to buy this or another bi-phase serum to get that. Okay, emergency situation number 2. This is one that I run into a lot. Maybe because of the shape of my eyes, maybe because of my hair growing on my eyelids. I think that that's probably the main reason, or maybe because of my own unique makeup techniques. I frequently end up with what we'll charitably call an uneven transition from the makeup on my lid to the skin right under my brow, and what we would uncharitably call patchy blending in that spot, right? I have very thick, stubborn hair, and my brows grow, little bits of brows grow like way down, but they're very pale. You know what I mean? Like they're translucent. So in the past, when I've managed to wax my own brows or had my brows waxed, this area all under here had the peach fuzz waxed off of there. Then all of a sudden I get this beautiful blend there. It's like when there's no hair hair on that skin, it's so much easier to blend makeup. But most of the time, even though you can't see it, I have a bunch of peach fuzz and hairs like growing basically between here and my brow. It's just the way my face is, okay? So I go to blend makeup there, and it's hard to make it really soft and like airbrush diffused. You know what I mean? In that really, really even, clean way that we see on the gram. It's just hard for me to get that. It's partly though because I don't particularly like going in with like a transition shade and then like a blending shade and like blending back and forth with a bunch of matte shadow before going in with a lid shade and a topper. It's just not how I do my makeup. I tend to go right in with the most exciting, greasy, creamy shades, put them on the lid, and then try to blend them out up into that area, having the fact that they fade out be the transition. And I get good results that way. I'm not just doing it because I'm lazy. I genuinely like doing my makeup this way, but it's partly because I have this very dependable fix for the times when that doesn't go quite as elegantly as I would have liked for it to go, and I end up with something that's visibly and distressingly actually patchy right there. The hero product is anything sheer, shiny, and wet looking. Right now in my makeup collection, this is the quintessential. That bottom right-hand corner shade from Pat McGrath, Midnight Sun. But there are a couple in Moonlit Seduction that can work, especially this gold. And there are others scattered through the makeup world, scattered through my makeup collection. In fact, I have a whole video called The Best Wet Look Eyeshadow in which I swatch all of my wet look eyeshadows. The thing that's great about products like this, the thing that makes this a hero eyeshadow for me when I'm in that situation, is that because it's sheer and because the best ones, my favorite ones, are pretty much colorless, I can put it on the bare skin that's right underneath my brow, and I'm not bringing like eyeshadow all the way up to the brow, you know? It just makes the brow bone look wet. But because there's so much mica packed into it reflecting light, and that's what's giving us that wet look, the shine, the reflect that it gives kind of masks the blend, the edge between whatever's on my lid and the transition to the brow bone. It doesn't cover it up so much that you don't still see the gradient of dark to light, but it softens it. You know what I mean? It's like using a little bit of a blurring tool in Photoshop, but in real life with shiny eyeshadow. It's my favorite trick. I've done it many a time. And the other thing is, I don't just love it as a hero moment, like as a trick. I love the way that it looks. And I often end up using these really wet look eyeshadows on my brow bone and to blend that part of my eyeshadow anyway, even on days where I don't have a patchy blend. So it's not as though I'm stooping to use a wet look eyeshadow to cover that patchiness. It's just like one of my favorite things, one of my favorite types of products to have on my eyes is also a hero product when I get into a muddy situation in the crease. Needless to say, you don't need a Pat McGrath palette to have a hero product like this work for you in this way. And there are shadows that do what these do at every price point. I feel like maybe the most accessible, affordable are some of the ColourPop Super Shocks can work this way. There are some in the Natasha Denona Gold palette. There's the topper in Tom Ford Naked Bronze. I'll put a little bit of a list down below. And of course, you can click through and watch my video featuring all wet look eyeshadows, and any one of them will do. Even highlighter. If you're in a pinch, especially a really wet look glittery highlighter or one that's packed full of those microfine glitters like Fenty Diamond Balm, even a duochrome highlighter, anything that has that sort of glossy sheer base and a strong reflect. Emergency number 3, clumpy mascara. This actually happened to me recently when I was testing the new Make Beauty mascara, which is actually really great, and it's what I have on my lashes today. You can see how it lengthened them, but I learned the hard way that this is a really, really wet mascara and very, very pigmented. In order to get this long, tangled, built-up lash look that I have on today, I had to wipe the wand off over and over and over again until it was nearly empty of product. Because when you go in with a full goopy mascara wand full of fresh Make Beauty mascara, at least my experience was that it applies way too much and all the lashes become very, very wet and clumpy. So So when that first happened to me, I was like, oh no. And I reached for my Hero mascara wand. And that was when I got the idea for this video, actually. I said that it was in the shower in the intro, and I was wrong. I think I was then thinking about it in the shower later that night. I'm sure that I came up with a list in the shower, but I came up with the idea for the video at that moment because I was like, wow, Ilia Limitless Lash to the rescue. This is the Ilia Limitless Lash Mascara. It has a really interesting wand. It's short on one side and it has these long, tiny comb teeth on the other side. Do you see? They're at the bottom right now. That little comb. It's like a comb. It's just like a tiny comb. This is a good mascara. It's buildable, it's easy to manipulate, but it's that comb. It's that comb that is the hero. It's actually just the wand. That little comb helps me to evenly distribute the mascara that's on my lashes, even when I've gone way overboard with something really wet. And it just separates, it fans out the lashes so that they become wispy, again, even when they're laden with something really wet. And to be clear, the Make Beauty mascara is really great. I just didn't know that I had to go slowly and wipe off the brush. And what happened when I went in with the Ilia brush was that the little comb started evenly distributing and spreading out the Make mascara. And I started to get that wispy, lengthened look that the mascara gives if you use it correctly. It completely rescued my lashes on that day because if I had continued with the very wet, laden, inky Make Beauty mascara wand, it would have just continued to get wetter and wetter and clumpier, and they would have all stuck together. I would have ended up with a like 3 stuck together lash situation. The thing that's great about this, I mean, if same as with all these things, if you've been considering the Ilia mascara or if you're in the market for a new mascara, this is a good one. I do recommend this, and I think a good mascara is a good thing to have. However, it's not really about this. It's about that very, very fine comb. If you have a sample of a mascara with one of those really spiky little combs and you don't like the mascara, or maybe you do like it, but you know, eventually you'll use it up, just keep the wand, keep the lid and the wand. You can wash it off and just like keep it as a tool in your vanity. Something like the Ilia one. So a rubber wand with really spiky, very, very close together tines. And then if you ever find yourself having put too much mascara on or having too wet mascara on or clumpy lashes or whatever, you can grab for that really spiky, fine combed wand and comb through your lashes and save the day. Okay, let's talk about skin tone, undertone struggles. I feel like I talk about green color corrector a lot. And in fact, I have a whole video called I tried all the green color correctors at Ulta, I think, in which I talk about why I use green color corrector and I compare a bunch of them to each other. So I'm actually not going to mention that. It's passé over here, you know? In brief, what I'll say is that I almost always have to use green color corrector because most complexion products that I'm testing are too saturated, too peach, too yellow, just not neutral enough for me. And the green or gray green in green color corrector helps to bring it closer to home. So that's like a forever hero product. But recently I have found myself really, really appreciating something else in my collection when it comes to that same issue. And it's this Ket Cosmetics Cream Fix palette, particularly the white and the pale olive complexion products. So these are 2 really lovely, quite pigmented, but not overly pigmented cream complexion products. They are really thin. So even though the pigment is pretty beefy, they melt into the skin, they don't cake, they're seamless, you know, and they blend really well with other products. So one is a really good match for me. The thing that's great about Ket is that they have olive as one of the groups of undertones in their complexion products, and it goes all the way to the lightest shade. So there's a lightest shade in the olive tinged range, and that's what I am. And then the other one is just white, bright white, which is a great thing for me to have because in addition to the recurring issue of complexion products not being olive enough, not being desaturated or neutral enough, they often are not pale enough. And a straight white like this, it doesn't really help make a complexion product less saturated. For that, I have to mix with gray, but it does help lighten it. And it does help sort of brighten and contour my face if the whole face is looking just a couple of shades too dark or too yellow or too peach because of whatever I'm testing. So the reason that this has been useful for me, I think separate from green color corrector, is that green color corrector goes goes first. So I'll put the green on top of my reddened skin, then go in with a complexion product, but sometimes then I'm still like, looking a little yellow, looking a little dark, a little peach. And with these, I can go on top with a brush, like highlight the cheekbones or under the eyes with the white, just a little bit of it, and it just suddenly sort of shifts the dial and makes everything look a little bit more natural. Because when those high points are brightened like that, then there's at least something on my face that matches my neck and other parts of my body, you know? And it doesn't look quite as much as though I have like painted my face a different color. So I often find myself using the complexion product to balance out saturation issues, the white to lighten complexion products that are too dark. And it's just such a helpful tool when it comes to testing product. Because, you know, if I want to give something a really good try, I'm wearing it day after day after day. And if it's just not quite the right color for me, it can get to be a little bit of a drag. So I use this to like whip it into shape and feel a little bit more like myself. A complexion palette with some variety can be a really useful tool. And I know that some of you have already built your own of this kind of thing out of Salt New York products. The Salt New York cream products work exactly like this for me. Like it's the same thing. This is just the one that I have on my vanity right now. So it's the one that I've been using the most. But Salt New York also has a white and actually shade adjusters of other colors as well, like more of a variety of them. And you know, there are some powder products like this too. Powder, if you use a lot of powder, if you use powder complexion products, there are powder palettes that have like green, yellow, purple. And of course, it doesn't have to be a palette. If you have a concealer sitting around that you got once, but that turned out to be way too dark for you, it can be useful to remember that you have that in your back pocket if you end up with a foundation that's too light for you. You know, just having things around that you can mix in and remembering that you always have the option helps us, I think, to be less fixated on that like holy grail product idea. Like there's just going to be one foundation to rule them all and it has to be exactly perfect. And if it's not, then I can't use it. The last one that I have on the list, it made sense to me when I wrote it. And now that I see it, it seems really obvious. You're going to laugh. I think I remember why I felt like this was worth mentioning. So the final emergency is stubborn spots, like hyperpigmentation spots, acne scars, blemishes, you know what I mean? Spots that are showing through even after you've put down your complexion product. And the hero product that I have, it's a full coverage concealer. So the Rose Ink Concealer, which I don't have on hand right now because I actually already disposed of the empty. It was almost empty and it was starting to separate in the tube, but I'm definitely going to buy it again. It's like one of the best concealers, if not the best that I've ever had. And it's really, really full coverage. But the other one that I use is the NARS Soft Matte Complete Concealer. I've been using this since before I started my channel. It's been my spot concealer forever. It's got a nice skin-like matte finish, so it doesn't reflect light and draw attention to the texture that you're trying to cover with it, which I think is one of the things that makes this magic. And the same is true of the Rose Ink one. And I just right before it kicked the bucket, I was using that Rose Ink concealer more to spot conceal, which isn't how I really mostly used it over the course of its life. And I was just appreciating how incredibly full coverage it is and how just a little spot of it and my pigment spots, anything that was showing through, my blemishes, the redness, would just be gone. Like it's so good at covering up what's there, even though it's really lightweight and easy to blend. And the reason I put this on the list, even though you would think that it is obvious that full coverage concealer is a great thing to have on hand to cover stubborn spots or to cover blemishes, is again to drive home that like customization, just put the makeup you need where you want it idea. I'm so glad that rather than feeling like I need to use full coverage foundation on my entire face because I have stubborn redness spots or stubborn blemishes, I have realized over the course of my life with makeup that I can use a full coverage concealer only in the spot where I need to cover a spot and blend it in to the rest of my skin, even when I'm blending it into products that have much, much, much lower levels of coverage. It just makes me feel so free. You know what I mean? It makes me feel like I don't need to cover all my skin up with makeup, even when I have stubborn blemishes, big scars, stubborn spots. So that is it. Those are my hero products. And more importantly, the concepts behind them, the reasons why they're my hero products, which are hopefully applicable to things that you already own. I hope that this was enjoyable. I hope that the brief made sense, that the like concept made sense. It made sense to me in the shower, okay? And it was also fun to share with you kind of like the nitty-gritty everyday reality of trying to make makeup work and trying to make it look good. I feel like it's so much more about creativity, balance, technique. It's so much more about those things than it is about just buying every single X that comes out on the market, like every single mascara until you find your perfect one. Again, if you enjoyed this and you're not subscribed, I really hope you will subscribe. And don't forget to take extra good care of yourself so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.